I remember so many times in my life where I would get myself calm before going into a situation. The more stressful it was, the more I would take a moment to almost put that mask on. Now, I knew I was doing it, and I thought I was being professional. And there's a line in a Quentin Tarantino film, and I used to say it to myself, and now I feel a bit shocked about my own self-talk. You know, there's this inner critic that lives inside our heads that doesn't give us any kindness, or doesn't give us space to do what we really need. Anyway, so Samuel L. Jackson says this line in Pulp Fiction, and he says to this woman who's freaking out, "Be cool." Then he adds a swear word, so I'm not going to add the swear word, be, right? It begins with B. He says, "Be cool, be." And I used to say that to myself all the time to kind of center myself and get back to some feeling of calmness. I thought I was almost leveling up. Again, that was because it had been presented as gender politics in my youth, very much men are rational, women are not, and this thing that women have got going on, bad. Now, those gender politics have completely changed in this modern world. So I don't think it's at all associated with gender, actually. I think those were just myths and things to divide us. But I think all of us, male and female and non-binary, and everybody, we are trying to repress what we're carrying and put a mask on to fit into the world, whether it's to be professional or to be a good friend to someone else or to achieve something. Somehow, it would have been more authentic for me to go into those situations and to allow myself to say the truth, which might have been, for example, yeah, well, this does sound like a heavy-going job. Might make me really stressed. I don't know if I can do all of it. Or, I've got a kid, can you help me with that part of it? So I never asked for help. I just had the calm face on. I acted cool and together. And I thought it was good. And I thought that was why I was successful. That's why I got given those high-powered jobs. Many people who have any kind of symptoms or who are getting run down or building up to kind of a burnout, they're really conscientious, wonderful people. They are people who, and you may be one of these, they're people who contribute a lot to society, who are givers, who care about other people, who really want to make the world a better place. And quite often, these wonderful people are working too hard. They're trying to achieve too much. They're trying to not let anyone down. And they're not always giving enough attention to themselves. On occasion, this type of person, I'm going to talk about me. I'm this type of person. I used to get upset. I'd be overworked, run down, and sometimes you reach your limit where you just can't take it anymore. And I would become either tearful or someone would ask for something that was just too much. It was just beyond the pale. I remember getting, I'd get an email at midnight and I'd be on a film job and they'd be like, well, we need this done before the morning. And it'd be midnight when I received the request. That was when I was working as a production coordinator. And the thing is, I wouldn't be able to say no. It would have been included in my job. And I would eventually become a bit tearful, or I would become almost pissed off and pissed off at myself because I'd got myself into that situation. I had chosen to do that job. And I remember at the time when I was on this huge production, it was this massive high budget production and I was running it from London, and there were 3 crews all over the world. So it was just non-stop because they were in different time zones. So you didn't ever get a night of sleep because there was always someone about to be starting shooting. So it was very, very, very high stress. And I was running a team. And I would get very tearful. And at that time, my partner would say, just calm down. Just calm down. Now, I know that he was trying to help me. And I know that if you have a partner or a friend or loved ones who are saying to you, just calm down, or calm down, honey, or however they're saying it, they might be saying it in a really loving way. We just want you to not, lose your mind with anger or terror or grief or whatever's happening to you, whatever we're witnessing. We don't want you to feel bad. So we know they're coming from a good place. They genuinely are trying to help. But I think that might not be helping. I think that saying to someone to calm down is possibly the most invalidating, gaslighty thing one can do to another human being. So it might be real good intentions, but the important thing at this point is, what does it do to someone on a healing journey? Now, I know from my personal experience, and I wonder if it's true for you, I always would go to immediately thinking, but they mean well. Just as I've just been talking about, their intentions are good. They're a good person. So my focus would be on the other person. This is actually very typical of people with chronic conditions and people with hypervigilance or any history of trauma, because we're very used to not looking inward, but looking at how other people are responding to us or talking to us. We're always scanning. What was really happening inside me was I was already overloaded and starting to have a lot of emotions about the work. And instead of expressing those and having a safe place to release and feel it through, perhaps, you could imagine a child who cries it out and then they feel better. Instead of having a safe place to do that, I was being told to stop doing that and to almost get myself under control. So what we do in that situation is we push the feelings back down and we kind of put a calm mask on top. I want you to consider this in the idea of, what if a lot of the healing journey needs release? It doesn't have to be always crying. It can be other things. Sometimes we shake for anger. We release through goosebumps, actually, or temperature changes in the body. A lot of different things happen with nervous system releases that are not controlled by the mind, and they can just happen automatically when we're allowed to feel things through, when we give ourselves permission. So if we don't release and we push things back down, then that becomes repressed. So for me, it meant I was building up more and more and more layers of repressed emotions. And instead of me dealing with what was happening inside of me, and instead of me going, hold on, now I've got this stress from work and the emotions about that, plus my partner's telling me to kind of stop it. So now I also have emotions about him doing this. I couldn't connect to any of that was inside of me. All I could do was look at him and go, he's a really good guy. He wants to help me, actually, and I can see that it hurts him to see me in pain. I can see that he's coming from a place of caring, a place of someone who loves me, and that's the other part of this. Someone who's telling us to calm down, they're not a bad person. They have their own pain. So when they witness someone with emotional pain, it triggers their emotional pain, and that can be very difficult. So they actually just want it to stop. This happens as well with parents. And I'm a parent, and I was guilty of this too when my son was little. To see your own child crying and being in pain, it's very difficult not to want them to stop. You want them to not be in pain anymore. You love them and you don't want them to be hurting. So what do we say when a child's crying? We say, shh. Now, I'm not sure we really want to be saying shh if We want them to have a healthy emotional release. If we want them to be allowed to get it all out and feel better. So as a parent, I have to look back and think, was I saying shh for him or for me? And I genuinely believe I was saying that for me. It was too painful for me to watch my son be in pain. What I used to do was I would say, yeah, no, that's good. I feel better now. Yeah, I calm myself down. I would physically swallow my tears. I don't know if you've ever done that where you start gulping, where you're kind of almost feeling like you maybe are going to become hysterical. And it is a bit scary. Your heart rate's going really, really fast. So much emotion is coming up. You're getting quite overwhelmed. And you can't necessarily get control of yourself in that moment, but you want to. Your mind is saying, or my mind used to be saying, I don't know where this is going, so this is scary. To get this overwhelmed by huge emotions feels scary. And I would prefer to get control of myself. So I would be trying to push it back. It would be the tears are coming and I'm, really trying to swallow that emotion and deep breaths, but not deep breaths for the sake of connecting and feeling things through, deep breaths for the, can I get control of myself? Like trying to bring myself out of a panic attack. So on a chronic illness healing journey, or a healing journey like I've done for cancer and for many persistent symptoms, it's really good to be allowed to kind of fall apart a little bit. And what happens is we come through it so much quicker than we think. I used to be so scared of my emotions. I was so scared that if I was going into the pain and the grief and the heartache, I would never come out of it. It would be like a bottomless pit and I would just end up being some depressed, miserable person for life. And it always felt safer to push it away and be like, it's better if I get control of myself, focus on something else, pull my attention away. And that's what we all do with our coping mechanisms. And I have found this was really what was behind my symptoms, the not allowing of those emotions and stresses to come to the forefront. I'm sharing with you these thoughts today about calming down and about whether that means a good thing or a bad thing for this healing journey out of chronic symptoms. Because it's a little bit complicated. It's not that you never want to be calm, it's that the route to calm or the pathway to calm just needs to be adjusted a bit. What I don't want to do to myself, and I don't want anyone else to do, is I don't want to push my feelings down and put a mask on of calm. That's performance, right? That's doing that for the other people. What I want to do is get to calm in a healthy, natural way. So I want to also give you a word that I like to use. I never speak to myself in the way of saying calm down. But I do tell myself to soothe and settle. Soothing and settling is a very similar activity. It's actually a way to go towards calmness. It's a way that we can ground ourselves. And it gives me a sense, though, of caring and kindness to me. Whereas if I'm saying to myself, calm down, that feels very unkind. So I'm wondering, is that just me because of that history? Because there's a history of misogyny that ran through my early life? Or is that everybody? I'd love to hear if you're younger and you didn't have that experience, or if you're male and you didn't have that experience. Perhaps calm down sounds lovely to you and equally nice as, let me soothe myself or let me settle myself. I would love to hear about this because the words we use to ourselves are very important on the healing journey. The way we speak to ourselves is something that has to be adjusted and changed. It means part of your healing is learning to be kind to you. So identifying which words are right for you is going to be unique to your situation, to your history, to how other people spoke to you when you were young. We're learning to remove that inner critic as one of the steps towards real physical recovery and relief. Please know that you're so welcome here, and subscribe if you'd like to, then you won't miss any future updates. I've created a free nervous system healing roadmap which contains the steps that I took to start recovering completely from chronic illness and cancer. And it also has a private meditations library, so they're ad-free rather than YouTube doing whatever it wants to my meditations, so you can grab that for free below. Let me know any thoughts you have in the comments, and take good care of yourself.